I'm going to look at the chart for Krishna. There's many disputed times of birth and passing, ascending. Um, this one seems to be fairly reliable. Krishna was born July 20th, 3228 BC at 2230, which, if you looked at the eastern horizon when he was born, the constellation corresponding to the ascendant sign of Taurus was rising at 4 degrees. And that becomes the most effective point of every house. It's a fixed earth sign, and it was in the Rohini Nakshatra. He was born in a K2 period, very spiritual period, and he passed away or ascended in February 18th, 3102 BC, which is also a K2 period, very spiritual, which is the start of Kali Yuga. Now, when you're born, the Vimshatari Dasha period that you're in becomes the root of the tree of life for your entire life. So this K2, very spiritual period, really structured his destiny. Sun was, we're going to look at how the planets are operating and when they're operating. First we want to find out what the functional benefics and the functional malefics are, and we look to see if there's any multicona signs in the 6th, 8th, or the 12th house. And for Taurus rising, there are 3 multicona signs. So the multicona signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. And we see in the 6th house the 7th sign of Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So Venus becomes a functional malefic. And then in the 8th house of challenges, we see the 9th sign of Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter becomes a functional malefic. And in the 12th house, we see the 1st sign of Aries ruled by Mars. So Mars becomes functional malefic. As well as Rahu and Ketu, which are functional malefic for every chart. The other planets, Sun, Mercury, Saturn, Moon, are all benefic planets. So Sun is at 14 degrees, and it is ruling the house of happiness through family, and it has a weak dispositor, and so it rules that 4th house of happiness, and it's well placed in the 5th house of educating others, and it's aspected by K2, which in his case is giving Sun, meaning leader, and the ability to educate others in spiritual matters. So Moon is at 11 degrees. It's exalted. It's in his 1st house. Almost all the charts you see for Krishna will have Moon exalted in that 1st house. And it rules this house of communication, and gives him, Moon itself is compassion, and so it gives him compassion, and that compassion is communicated through spiritual knowledge to help others. His life purpose, you could say, through Moon is this compassionate nature to help others grow spiritually. And you see this in the Gita when he's talking to Arjuna. Moon also in this house gives longevity, because it's very exalted. So this is the house of longevity. So Mars is at 19 degrees, and remember we said that Mars is a functional malefic, and it rules this 12th house of enlightenment, but also a feeling of separateness. And it is in the third house. You see, he has 3 planets in the third house, which makes him a great communicator, and gives Rahu here gives him great charisma. Mars gives him a very ambition to communicate, and then Venus would be communicating Vedic knowledge. So he communicated the knowledge of enlightenment to Arjuna. So Mercury is at 9 degrees, and it's in this house of delays, setbacks, but also healing. The ability to heal gives him ability to communicate how to heal, and gives him a little bit of a playfulness and mischievousness in his communication. And so it is actually ruling the house of educating others. So Mercury educating others, healing others through his communication. Jupiter is at 7 degrees. It's in the house of educating others, and Jupiter itself is teacher, educator. It is functional malefic. It has also a weak dispositor, and it rules this 8th house of spiritual knowledge, researching and this educating others in that spiritual knowledge. So Venus is at 29 degrees, weak, and it is functional malefic as well, in this ruling this house of enemies and healing, and it is in this house of communication as well. So communicating. Venus represents the Vedic arts, the performing arts, the healing arts, the fine arts, and also Vedic arts, and gave him great ability to communicate. And it also affected his relationships. He was known to have many wives, and Venus is also performing arts. He played the flute, and he had enemies like Kansa who tried to kill him. So Saturn is at 18 degrees. It's in the house of relationships, partnerships, and it is ruling the house of career, or Dharma. So he, through his relationships with Arjuna and many other people that he was teaching in the Gita, he gained longevity. He was said to be at about 130 years old when he passed away. So Rahu gives is at 14 degrees. And one thing I forgot to mention, any planet that is within 5 degrees of the ascendant has some impact. So Jupiter can impact 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impacts this house of spiritual knowledge. 6, 7 impacts the house of income and friends. 8, 9, and the house of life purpose through teaching. So Rahu also can afflict 5, 7, 9 houses away if there's any planet within 5 degrees. It's not close to the ascendant degree. So at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it does afflict Saturn. 6, 7, 8, 9. So just Saturn is affected there. So Rahu gives this charisma, this ambition to communicate spiritual knowledge, and Ketu gives that spiritual aspect to teaching. So those are the main points for Lord Krishna.